Have you checked the children? You're a little mad sometimes.
Hi, I'm Chucky. Wanna play?
Sometimes that is better.
You're gonna need a bigger boat.
What's up, everyone? Welcome back to the Horror Show. I'm Cecil Laird.
And you got Jaime Fuego here.
And we are here to do a review of the upcoming, not even brand new, but upcoming Arachnid release, because there's two. We're very much back in the 90s heyday where we had Volcano and Dante's Peak. Now we've got Sting and Infested coming not long after it. But today we are here to talk about Sting. So we saw this film early as a part of the AMC Screen Unseen. Also, AMC Scream Unseen, like they brand it both ways, which is really odd.
Yeah, it's just depending on what sort of film it is, so people know what they're getting themselves into. If
Yeah,
they're
exactly.
A horror film. And there were a couple people seated right beside me that walked out halfway through this one.
Oh,
so
really?
I don't know if it was too much for them or just not their cup of tea or whatever. So, yeah, I can see why they differentiate a little bit. So.
Well, in the last one of these that we did, the first one that I'd experienced was for Lisa Frankenstein. So I was really disappointed with the event, and I was very concerned it was going to be Winnie the Pooh 2. But thank goodness it was Sting.
Yeah, that's like an exclusive. You can't even use A-list for the Winnie the Pooh. And sidetrack, dude, when I got home from work last night, I watched the first Winnie.
Oh, really?
Winnie the Pooh, but I just threw it on while I was working on stuff.
Maybe I should watch it. Maybe we should do a retroactive review and actually get into the series if it's going to be this big. We probably should. But anyway, that's beside the point.
Yep.
We're here to talk about Sting, Fuego, and we'll do this review like we do our normal reviews, talking about the overall thoughts, then the acting, the effects, all of that good stuff in turn. And if any of you guys are like me, that drawer sticking out is going to piss you the hell off this entire review, like it's going to piss me off. So I apologize about that. But
no turning back now.
No turning back, exactly. So my overall thoughts, and I don't know if I'm going to be an island on this one, Fuego. I've seen reactions both ways after the screening.
I have too.
And I've got to say, I enjoyed this movie. It didn't blow me away. But this was, to me, a 70s, 80s creature feature with a modern-day sheen to it. Like, it wasn't any deeper than that. It wasn't anything more than that. But that, in and of itself, was entertaining enough to make me happy. So, overall, I enjoyed the film. Do I think it's Shakespeare? No. Do I think it's going to be the best horror movie of the year? No. Do I think it's going to be in the top 10 of the year? Probably not. But I enjoyed it for what it was. For a spider horror movie, I enjoyed it for what it was.
Yeah, I guess I'm right there with you on this particular one, man. You know, I was not blown away by this film. I really dug some of the practical stuff. Like, you know, you see in the trailer people like all gooped up in the webbing and stuff. And while it is a CGI spider, it did look relatively convincing. And there's a couple bits of gore that I thought were relatively
Sometimes it's CG. There are some practical spiders.
There was, yeah. So I dug the design. I thought the story. This was my one gripe about this movie, though, despite the fact that it was throwback in that 70s, 80s, 90s kind of. It's not on a level of sophistication of like arachnophobia or something, but then again, it's not as stupid as Eight-Legged Freaks. It resides somewhere in between the two. I appreciate when you have character development and when you have like actual dynamic and development of these different people, but I felt like this movie leaned into it a little more than I wanted it to, with the family dynamic, and almost focused on it a little more than I kind of wanted more spider stuff, because they really go into a lot of depth with this stuff with this young girl and her stepfather, and just, you know, trying to mend those fences. It's a theme we've seen in a lot of movies. I mean, we just saw it in Ghostbusters with Paul Rudd and McKenna Grace having a similar dynamic of butting heads a little bit, and, you know, just this new fatherly figure trying to connect and whatnot. But I did like the comic book slant that they went with. I thought that was a cool little side bit. But yeah, the family stuff, it felt a little overwrought to me at times, and I just wanted more spider craziness and carnage and stuff. So that's really my only gripe, because aside from that, the humor worked for me. The person I saw the film with, she was like, the acting from one character in particular, the Eric character, you know, he was very stiff and wooden, and she was like, they're trying to go for humor with this. That's not working for me. It worked for me. I thought it was funny.
Yeah,
so,
I liked him too.
Yeah, so as a whole, yeah, it's solid 3-star, interesting effort. I don't necessarily know if it's theatrical necessary, though.
No, I don't think it's necessarily worth. You don't need to go to the theater to experience it. I don't even think it'll be that much of like an opening crowd craziness kind of movie. It was pretty standard in the way that it played out. But
I had fun with it though, man.
It's funny. I was actually kind of on the opposite end with the characters. Like, I felt like we didn't get enough to really ingratiate ourselves to them. We had only stuff that was directly related to the conflict in between the characters, and not enough levity to actually build a real relationship on it. It was all drama, no levity, and I think there needs to be a healthy balance of the two.
I can agree. Yeah, and maybe if they like focused, maybe if they developed it better. I feel like they focused on it a lot, even if it was surface level, like you were saying.
But it's hard to care. It felt like they were forcing us to be like, you got to root for this one, and you got to understand why this one's acting the way they are, and it's like, no, just let it play out in a chill way, and we'll get the point. But no, they were very, very heavy-handed with it, I feel like, and there wasn't enough. Yeah, there wasn't enough lightness to balance the heaviness amongst the family, in my opinion. But you know, so we did our overall thoughts. The story is simply, there's a little girl who happens across a new species of spider. I won't say from whence it came or whatnot, but
I thought that was interesting because they lean into, you know, the
don't say yeah, it's something new. It's a new species of spider, and it's able to mimic sounds. And this little girl tries to care for it, but it quickly outgrows their relationship, so to speak. And then it starts to wreak havoc all throughout the apartment building that the little girl lives in. And that's as much as I can really say without spoiling things. And so it's a very, you know, it's kind of a puddle deep sort of film. Doesn't need to be the deepest in a lot of cases for horror films, and this one definitely wasn't. But I thought it was good as a creature feature. You know, creature features aren't known for having the deepest characters. It's known for the creatures, and I thought they did a great job with that. So we'll get to the effects, but yeah, story wise, it was fine. It played out kind of predictably, but you know, it was at least entertaining. So that's as much as I can give it, unfortunately.
Yeah, the writing of our main character, this 12-year-old girl, you know, she's a little bit of a brat at times, although it makes sense based on her age and the situation,
circumstances, right?
Yeah, exactly.
And by the way, I feel like she was a phenomenal little actress. I actually liked her better than the little girl in Imaginary. I thought this girl was very, very credible.
Yeah, indeed. And so she was good.
Alila Brown is her name, I believe.
Yeah. Stepfather, he was all right. Mom was relatively forgettable, unfortunately. Yeah. I honestly wanted more with some of these quirky supporting characters, like the Exterminator.
When she was going through the vents and looking in on all these characters, I was like, oh, this is a cool way to introduce all these characters that we're going to get throughout, and a lot of them just got very short shrift. Yeah.
And I mean, the senile grandmother with, you know, I don't know if it's Alzheimer's or, you know, something worse, but, you know, she's played more so for laughs, although there is a scene in particular where
played
she's
for
like,
story beats too.
Yeah. The two scenes that got me a little bit in that regard were where they wrote her saying, "Oh, you should meet my daughter. You should meet my daughter." Those definitely hit. They were kind of funny but kind of sad in the same right. And I also wanted more with the supporting character of the Asian dude who's like doing the experiments.
I think Eric or something like that.
Yeah, Eric was the name of his character. I wanted more from him. He was a little underdeveloped in my estimation. He was really there to progress the plot forward, right?
But he was so good. Like a lot of people will consider his performance perhaps robotic or whatever, but he's clearly like mildly autistic and like it's just very into his work. And like I really enjoyed his character, to be honest with you. I did
too.
I thought he was one of the best in the film.
Yeah, and especially just the odd ping-ponging of the dialogue between him
that
and
back and forth where he's like I just don't think it's safe, you know, like but he didn't move a muscle outside of his mouth. It was really it was I actually thought that his character was well developed in his own head and for the screen.
Yeah. And so I mean, back to what I was saying a moment ago about how they focus too much on the human characters and not enough on the carnage. I guess to more properly kind of reel in what you were saying, I feel like they focused on them more than the carnage and the horrors of the situation, but yet still, as you mentioned, didn't develop these characters as much as I would have wanted. And that's why I wanted more of the exterminator dude, because he was quirky and funny as hell, and I wanted more of the guy living in the same building who aids the process of this spider growing and moving it into a new thing, because you see that in the trailers. They need something bigger to put it in, and he's there to help with it. So that's where I feel like the story was a little bit more by the numbers and lacking. You know, that's just like, okay, hurry up and get to the craziness.
It was looking for cannon fodder rather than plot development.
Truly. I mean, the first victim, without specifying who it is, has like what, a scene or two.
Yeah.
And you know, it's just, oh, they're there to, you know, just show what this spider is capable of and stuff. So, but I think we've kind of touched on the acting a little bit, and so just to double down, I did really think the little girl was very.
She was phenomenal.
Strong in her essence of like showing both the naivety and the vulnerability and the connection that she forms with this little creature that she's captured. I did indeed enjoy, and also just kind of the little sinisterness about her when she's first feeding it the cockroaches, and she's like, cool.
Yeah.
Really.
Yeah, when it like shoots its web and pulls up the thing, and she's just like, ooh. I was like, yeah, that's dope. But I think that actually... Sorry, let me take a pause. But I actually think that's one of the cool things, is that, you know, it let us live in the her and Sting world enough that it made me care about their relationship until he realized that this is just a fucking animal. Like, and I like that someone explains it to her, like,
oh yeah, the exterminator.
Spiders don't have emotional connections. You know what I mean? Yeah. And like, it's like they lay it out for you, and I was still waiting for it to be like, you know, to the little girl, but no.
I was wondering if that was going to happen too, because I felt like one of the trailers I saw kind of implied that could be a possibility. Yeah. You know, that it would not go after her, but then you find out through one of the plot devices that there's a reason why it won't go after her, because of what she coats herself in. You know, the mixture, the mothball mixture stuff.
The mothball juice.
Yeah. But yeah, I mean, quirky supporting characters. Obviously, they're a little bit one note, but I thought they were amusing enough. And you know, landlord, I guess mother-in-law to the.
She was silly. Yeah, I mean, this movie is just like, you already nailed it. It's like a straight 3-star creature feature across the board. Very basic, nothing to write home about, but at least worth one watch. Again, I agree with you. I don't think it's necessarily worth a theatrical watch. The last thing we need to touch on, the cinematography is actually pretty good.
I like the
for a
movement
low-budget
of the camera,
horror movie.
Man.
Yeah, a lot of cool camera movements.
Very roaming and
a lot of cool, you know, reveals via air ducts, and you know, a well-told story visually. So there's that, but
and that's
also
where that's where I gotta credit the director real quick. So Kaya Roche Turner or Roach, I don't know.
And shout out what else they've made, which is awesome.
Yeah, the 2 Wormwood movies.
The Wormwood movies,
which are good.
Yeah, those are really low budget, like Mad Max zombie movies.
Yeah,
you know, it's like if zombies were in the Mad Max universe, and they were good. I didn't actually watch them, but from what I heard, they were good films.
One, man. I dug the first one. I haven't seen the second one, and that was another example similar to this, of where I can tell that they're on a small budget, but they're doing a lot with it as far as the ambitiousness and the polished aspect of the filmmaking. Like this, it's a single location, so that's obviously how they're going to save a lot of money and, you know, hopefully make the creatures look decent, which we'll get into in a moment. But I mean, it looked professional. It did not look like some of the cheap crap that we have seen, unfortunately, on this channel in all the years we've been doing this.
Yeah, no, 100%. I agree. Yeah. But yeah, let's the last thing is really the effects, and I think the film shined with the effects.
Agreed.
I think the CG spider was utilized in the background in dark rooms, so like you could never really like, you know, it's a CG because you know that spiders don't crawl on the fucking ceiling. Like, so you know that internally, but it's not the film, it's not the look of the effect that's taking you out of it. It's the knowledge of the fact that, I mean, this doesn't usually happen. But I thought the effects were great. Like, it was mostly, to me, in my eye, it was mostly practical. Like a lot of there's a lot of close-ups of the spider, all practical, the cool mouth and all that shit. Like, I love that, but there is some CG spider movement. But a lot of the spider is told a la Jaws with audio, like jetting around in the vents and the walls and stuff like that. So I was a huge fan. Excuse me, my goodness, I was a huge fan of the effects.
Yeah, I was too, and especially when they went into the practicality of what happens with the people, most notably the first victim that I mentioned earlier, and boy, that person got it pretty bad, man. It was just a series of different things, and I was just like, damn. And
well, and the joke, the fucked up parrot.
Yeah, oh man, that was one of the most amusing lines in the like, looks like I tried having sex with a blender or something like that. I was like, damn. Yeah, that character was funny, man. But also what you see in the trailer of when, you know, people are being like cocooned up and everything, I thought that was pretty dope looking. And so
aliens, yep.
Yep, very much so. And so yeah, I was very much a fan of how they made a very concerted effort to make sure that the practicality was gooey and gross and convincing, and they definitely accomplished their goal, I'd say.
Agreed.
Yeah.
So yeah, guys, I mean, I think Sting is worth your time. Again, I agree with Fuego. I don't think it's necessarily worth a trip to the theater just to see the film, unless it's a matinee. I think it's very worthwhile for a matinee show.
Totally, and that's why.
Or if you have A-list, you know, go do that. I think it's worth your time. I don't think it's necessarily worth two $15 tickets, full price, plus popcorn and soda and everything. If that's the case, you know, wait till streaming or whatever. But I do think it's definitely worth a watch in one way, shape, or another.
Yeah, especially if you're into spider movies, creature movies, things of that nature, especially when there's like a nice little comedic tinge to the proceedings, which I laughed my fair share of times throughout this film. I enjoyed the tone, even if it might not necessarily work for everybody.
Agreed. So there you go, guys. That's going to do it for our thoughts on Sting for 2024. Thank you very much for watching. Thank you to all of our patrons for supporting the channel the way that you do. We greatly appreciate it. Again, I got word that apparently this film was sent out for screeners with an embargo and everything, but we watched the Scream Unseen. We paid our hard-earned dollars, our ducats, to watch this, so we're reviewing it. Yeah, we had to agree to no such embargo to watch this film. So
yeah, because it doesn't come out till April 12th in theaters, so they screened this one well in advance, almost 3 weeks in advance of its theatrical debut. So.
Luckily, we enjoyed it. So there you go.
I dug it.
So thank you guys very much for watching. Until next time, I've been Cecil Laird.
And Kristopher and Jaime and Fuego.
And remember, stay scared.